Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we're going to review Surviving Mars Pioneer VR, a game released in early access on May 9th, 2025 by developer Bulwark Games. It normally retails for $20. I did buy this game and I tested it out on the Meta Quest 3 using link cable on my RTX 3080. Now I did do an early impressions video with gameplay, but the game has received multiple updates since then and I wanted to do a full review after 30 plus hours. I've unlocked all the blueprints, I've done all the quests. The only thing I have left is a level 6 upgrade for my suit, which I may or may not do. But long story short, I thoroughly did enjoy this game and I do highly recommend it. I am bumping up my early impressions score. I always say to take my early impressions with a grain of salt. This is a game that has received multiple updates since release. It's in a much better state than it was even a few weeks ago, and I imagine it'll be in a much better state when it's fully released. So the game as is, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's not perfect. There are still some bugs and some quality of life improvements that can be made, but it is one of the best survival crafting games in VR. It's more on the casual side. This is not a hardcore survival game. And personally, I would just put it a notch below Green Hell, PC VR, or Subnautica. But if you wanted something like Astroneer in VR, then this is the game for you. So let's talk about Surviving Mars Pioneer VR and why I think it's one of the best survival games in VR. First of all, it is running on the Unity engine. On my RTX 3080, I was getting a steady 90 frames per second throughout. And I did experience several bugs, but there was nothing game breaking. Usually just going back to the main menu and going back to the last save fixed the issue. And as I mentioned, devs have been very busy fixing issues with this game. They've been consistently rolling out patches to make the game better. And I'll show one of the bugs towards the end of the video, but it was nothing major. One improvement I'd like to see is headlights on the vehicles and the ability to build bases outside of the starting area. I'd also like to see a little bit more depth to the base building. You can add furniture and decorations to the room, but at the end of the day, it's just aesthetics for the most part. You do have full locomotion along with smooth and snap turning available. You can play comfortably seated. You can manually save and the game auto saves for you anytime you enter a new zone. There's 10 different areas to explore in this game, and the gameplay loop pretty much plays out the same for each of these 10 areas. Each of the 10 areas has a jammer tower that you're trying to disable, and you'll need to find the drone in that area that has the key for the jammer tower. I also found that each area has a side quest that you usually encounter by exploring the area. Towards the latter half of the game, a lot of these are puzzles that you'll need to solve. There is combat, but it is very limited. There's these patrolling drones that you'll take down with your extraction tool. You basically have 3 different tools: the extractor, the scanner, and the constructor. The extractor is mostly used for mining, but it can also be used for self-defense. The constructor is used to build objects or to move them, and I was very puzzled at what the scanner did, but I figured out it's a way to scan items and then be able to make furniture out of them. It's also used to hack the drone robot to get the key for the jammer towers. It's a sort of a little very easy mini game where you just basically follow the dots. I think a major improvement can be made here to make this mini game a lot more fun. It's just too simple as is currently. But the main character and the main danger in this game is Mars. Mars is an unforgiving place where a lack of preparation will lead to your death. You have to keep track of your health, your nutritional level, and your oxygen. Once you get further in the game, you also have to watch out for any falls that will lead to your death, radiation levels, heat, and cold. You'll also have to watch out for the weather, as ion storms can cause you damage, and also how dark it can get at night. However, I will say that currently death is pretty forgiving in this game. If you die, what happens is there's an auto save and you respawn either where you built your bed or the launch crash site, and all your items will be where you last died. So there's not much of a punishment to death, and it can even be strategic to die so you don't waste resources on consuming food. The start of the game is probably the toughest because it is difficult to make enough food to survive, but if you just don't worry about it, then it becomes pretty casual throughout. And your health also self-replenishes rather quickly in this game. So the ion storms and the patrolling drones aren't really much of a threat. I wish there was a hardcore mode where dying is consequential, where you lose all held items upon death and where health does not replenish on its own. Exploration is a big part of the game, and in order to unlock new areas, you'll have to build a radio tower and feed it the required materials, which you'll probably need blueprints for. And so this game has a cycle of getting blueprints, then crafting the items in order to make the objects in the blueprint, then selling materials so you can get money so you can buy new blueprints. There is a lot of grinding in this game, but to be fair, compared to other survival games or other crafting games, it's not on the overly burdensome side. Unfortunately, there's only a few items that you craft that you're gonna be especially thrilled about. I loved unlocking the hover bike and the rover, and once you unlock them, you're gonna be thrilled to be able to explore Mars driving these vehicles. But most of the blueprints are simply machines that produce items that you'll need to unlock other items. And these machines have screens, and you'll be pointing and clicking and getting cubes out of them. It's just not very immersive. In fact, many of the VR interactions here are not very immersive. A lot of point and click, even for opening doors, which is a letdown. But at least the hover bike and the rover are fun to drive. And some of the exploration and discoveries and puzzles you find later on are also fun to solve. However, there's really no story. You're given a quest to basically find all the tower jammers and disable them. And in each area you'll find a side quest if you explore enough. But there is no overarching narrative, and you don't know why you're doing any of this other than it helps you survive longer. Maybe. And the starting area is especially drab. It takes a while to get into the adjacent areas and actually find some stuff worth exploring. And again, I just think it needs a little bit more depth and better pacing here. You should be working towards some cool weapon, or the ability to build some buildings outside the starting area. Maybe the ability to put some defenses around the building. And maybe your base gets attacked by some cannibalistic Martians. Keep in mind the game is in early access, and like I said, changes are bound to be made in the future, but I can only rate the game as is currently, and right now I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. There is a lot here to enjoy. This is a solid game with a promising future, with devs that are very responsive, and while it did leave me wanting for more, what's there currently was still really good. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyers. This has been my review for Surviving Mars Pioneer. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Critical radiation levels detected.